Hello, aspirants. This is Priyanka Mahapatra, faculty at Kala Mice for SA. So, today we'll be taking up a very important topic, which is one of the expected topics for this year. That is, government jobs are a poverty of aspiration. So, why have we taken this topic? Because this comes in the context of Pooja Khidkar case. It also came in the context of Sanjeev Sanyal's remark. He is the economist, Economic Advisory Council member, who remarked that cracking UPSC or becoming a civil servant reflects the limited aspirations of the youth. It also essentially implies that seeking employment in the government sector essentially reflects a lack of ambition or a limited worldview among the youth. So, why is that? Let's debate elaborately. Firstly, we will be presenting our arguments that how and why the government jobs are a poverty of aspiration. Then, we would be countering the statement that government jobs are not really a poverty of aspiration. Then we will be giving a balanced perspective. So let's get started with our arguments that how the government jobs are a poverty of aspiration. We know that the youth have been wasting their best of years. We know that lakhs of people spending their productive years trying to just crack an exam where tiny number of a few 1000 people actually get in every year. According to ILO report, staggering number of aspirants, close to a million, compete every year just for a few hundred posts. And moreover, the economy is not generating enough jobs to absorb the young talent in the labor markets. That is how we are facing jobless growth from the longest time. So it is said that if they put the same energy into doing something else to pursue their passion, to pursue some other career paths, we would be winning more Olympic gold medals. We would be seeing better movies being made. We would see better doctors. We would see more entrepreneurs, more scientists. So take the case of Bihar over here. Bihar aspired to be a small time goon local politicians. And imagine in that situation, in that environment where the local goon politicians are the role models in the society, you can either become a local goon or if you do not want to become that local goon, then you do not know your way out what to do. So you basically aspire to become a civil servant. So here I agree that although becoming a civil servant is better than becoming a goon, but that is a poverty of aspiration because you are not having any choice. That is why you are aspiring for a civil servant, not because that you really want to do in your life. Therefore, the youth must rather aspire to become another Elon Musk or Mukesh Ambani rather than being a joint secretary in the union government. Because UPSC or any other government exam is not one size fits all career path. It requires a lot of passion. Unless you are passionate about that career path, you should not pursue that. Unless one wants to become an administrator, he or she should not take this UPSC or government exam. Because what will happen that in the coming years, during the course of your career, you will get frustrated. You will realize the life. You will realize that bureaucracy is not meant for everybody because it is largely dull and boring. It is about passing files up and down. And unless you really want to do this, you are not going to be particularly happy in your life because bureaucracy is mired by stagnation, it is mired by red tapeism. Government jobs are often associated with rigid hierarchies, slow decision making processes, which can stifle your innovation and personal growth. And the red tapeism, the procedures there can be very time consuming, very inefficient. Thus, it will also hinder your productivity and innovation. Then the government jobs play a very crucial role in the public service, though but their individual contributions might feel insignificant compared to the broader system. There is a lot of political interference in the government jobs. They can be influenced by political pressures. I know many friends of mine, those who have left the government jobs only because of the immense political pressure that can impact your decision making and job security also. You can quote Pooja Khetkar case over here. What she did was readily acceptable by the society. She saw corruption as aspirational. That means when corrupt individuals they face minimal consequences for their actions, it can reinforce their corruption behavior. It can reinforce the perception that corruption is acceptable in the society. Corruption is even admirable in the society. Now, this has disappointed the youth who see such competitive exams as a means to bring societal positive change, as a means to bring about positive change in their lives, in their families, in the social circle, in the nation. Former IS officer and RBI Governor D. Subbarao, he remarked that 25 of the IS officers are either corrupt, incompetent, or inefficient. So look at the gravity of the situation. We can also give example of those people who morally oppose corruption, but they find themselves adapting to a system also where malpractices are considered essential for their survival and progress. You often would have seen people discussing in the personal circles that the civil servants who haven't amassed enough wealth for their future generations, they might not be efficient officers. They might be naive or fools. ऐसा होता है ना कि हम लोग सोचते हैं कि अगर कोई ऑफिसर he hasn't amassed enough wealth, so he might be an inefficient officer. He might be a naive or a fool. Now, this raises a critical question about our societal values. That do we genuinely disdain corruption, or we do it very secretly, admiring the outcomes such as the wealth accumulation and the power that it sometimes facilitates? You can also come to Pooja Khedkar case when it comes to the abuse of power and privilege, when she allegedly demanded special treatment not typically afforded to the trainee officers, such as separate office and official car. So these can be the arguments to justify that government jobs are a poverty of aspiration, how it is only a limited worldview. Okay, then you would come to counter this statement that to characterize the government exam preparation as a poverty of aspiration is unjust and unnecessary. How? Because a rising aspiration to become a bureaucrat will signify nobility of aspiration, particularly in the today's youth, where large population of these candidates have an engineering background, but still they invest their years towards developing an awareness of the diverse social milieu, the manifold challenges that the nation confronts with, and the nuances of the political economy. So it's the nobility of aspiration. And this effort, this exercise, where they are investing their productive years in developing an awareness of the diverse social milieu about the manifold challenges that the nation confronts, it demands a painstaking effort. It demands mental resilience, endurance, equipoise for one to navigate this UPSC journey or any other government exam journey, which is invariably fraught with a mix of both successes and setbacks. Then government jobs, they provide us a unique opportunity to contribute to the society and make a difference in people's lives. Former Niti Aayog CEO and now G20 Sherpa Amitabh Kant, who has been a career bureaucrat, said that government gives you that scale and size which you can never get in UPs in private sector, right? So then we come to the job security. Government jobs, they offer a level of job security that is unmatched in the private sector. You can talk of the Nordic countries, you can talk of the Western European countries, you can talk of India, where these countries have a robust civil service systems which provides a high degree of job protection. Then we can also give our argument for public service motivation, where many individuals are drawn into the government service due to their desire to contribute to the society, to make a positive impact. These youth always had the choice of securing a lucrative, high yielding job in the private sector or to work abroad. Because they studied in the best of the educational institutions, they could have easily managed to secure a lucrative job in the private sector or in the abroad. But they chose to renounce this temptation and join the bureaucracy where average emoluments, average salary is just a fraction of those earned in the private sector. So it is not a poverty of aspiration, it is a conscious decision to join government job. Again, public service is a spectrum of perspectives. We cannot say that, we cannot generalize that it is a poverty of aspiration. It is lack of ambition. Because for those belonging to marginalized strata, it may be a road to social mobility. It can be a gateway to improving the social landscape they come from. For others, it may be a matter of immense prestige, privilege to represent the country abroad as a diplomat. For some, it may be an obsession to don the khaki as a cop and improve the law and order situation to strengthen the national security. So, this public service being a poverty of aspiration, when it is said as a poverty of aspiration, it is jolting to the passion of the public service that is there in the aspirants. So, not only do this remark that government jobs are a poverty of aspiration disillusion the aspiring youth, but it also amounts to negate the stellar contribution made by the civil servants in shaping the development trajectory of our nation. Because we should not forget the genius of our committed civil servants who played a pivotal role in translating the demographic experiment envisaged in the constitution into reality by conducting the world's largest electoral exercise. Understanding? So we cannot say that it is a poverty of aspiration. We cannot say that repeated failures is the reason why we say that government jobs are a poverty of aspiration. This is a misplaced notion. We cannot agree that failures will mark the end of one's quest for a superior goal. This is antithetical to the teachings of the Vedas, which proclaim Charevati Charevati. Keep on trading steadfastly till you reach your destination. On the other side, private sector is also not a sure road to success. You can quote Harvard Business Review, where it said that nearly 90% of the startups they fail to materialize into profitable ventures in one go. So when we are having repeated failures, it does not mean that it is a waste of human effort. In fact, it reflects the human ingenuity to strive for a better tomorrow. Right? So these should be your arguments. We can also talk of Thomas Alva Edison over here, who famously said, I haven't failed 10,000 times. I haven't failed 10,000 times. I have successfully found 10,000 ways that will not work. that is striving for a better tomorrow. You can talk of the India space program, how it is a testament to the fact that failures cannot come in the way of our scientists who were determined to make India succeed Chandrayaan 3. So, multiple iterations in any endeavor should not therefore be despised or viewed as poverty of aspiration. In fact, to dream of becoming Elon Musk, it requires a lot of context and vocabulary. We should understand the challenges, opportunities, the complexities associated with Elon Musk ventures. We cannot just glamorize Elon Musk. We should understand the underlying struggles, underlying challenges, opportunities which he had in his life. To be Sachin Bansal, the CEO of Flipkart, it requires an education ecosystem, a state that can be very supportive because he was an IITian. So everybody cannot be Sachin Bansal. Then we should come to a balanced perspective in this essay where we need to appreciate the diverse range of career paths, of course. We should encourage people to explore various options, including entrepreneurship, academia, the non-profit sector. Along with that, we should reform the public sector. We should implement measures to improve the efficiency, the accountability, the innovation within the government organizations. We should fix the corruption issue, particularly within the All India Civil Services. We should also appreciate the fact that this transformation, this fixing the corruption issue, requires more than just legal and institutional reforms because it requires a fundamental shift in our collective conscience first. Okay, then we should also talk about strengthening the private sector, creating a business friendly environment to encourage job creation and economic growth. So, both are and must be equal stakeholders in charting the growth story of India. So, we cannot say that the government jobs are a poverty of aspiration. We must not forget the contribution of civil servants. They can actually help foster a conducive policy ecosystem that will enable the private sector to contribute and collaborate with the government in catapulting our economic growth that is both inclusive and sustainable. So there has to be a balance between the public sector and the private sector. We cannot outrightly say that government jobs are a poverty of aspiration and private sector is all the solution. So such a policy framework by the government to support the private sector will enable those with entrepreneurial spirit to become millionaires and billionaires. So you can conclude by really emphasizing upon the importance of civil service in order to unlock the true potential of the nation and to harness the demographic dividend. We need a committed, spirited, and talented bureaucracy that is in sync with the present day realities. You can also say that we need a policy paradigm that is nimble and adept at addressing the contemporary issues pertaining to climate change, technology disruption, demographic transition, among others. So, the bureaucracy or the steel frame, as referred to by Sardar Patel, must impart vigor to the nation's capabilities because the nation is striving to attain a developed country status by 2047. So this is the vision of the government. So actually you can take help of the slogans of the government or the vision of the government in order to make your conclusion visionary, futuristic, right? Then you can also quote a verse from Kathopanishad where Swami Vivekanand often repeated Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is accomplished. So you can end the essay with a quotation which is actually going well with the theme of the essay. So here we can realize that there is a structure to every essay. It matters the most that how you arrange those ideas, those macro arguments, those micro arguments in your essay, how you are able to use your present GS knowledge for the substantiation, how you are able to use the quotations, book references, current affairs, etc., to make your essay look very innovative, very different from others. So, to address all your concerns with respect to your essay paper, particularly the philosophical topics, we are conducting a 5 day live workshop from 30th of July to 5th of August, wherein the last 5 years of UPSC essay paper will be dealt very thoroughly. Here, the whole point of conducting this workshop that you can ask me anything related to the hiccups you just found while writing the PYQ test. Yes, you will be given a test initially, firstly, where you will be given 1.5 hours of time to write an essay. Okay, then I'll be discussing the macro arguments, the micro arguments for that topic, very much away from the traditional pistol approach. After that, I'll give you set frameworks also which can be used for any essay asked on that particular theme. Yes, we have come up with various themes asked in the UPSC essay paper also. So, with this, I welcome you all to the live workshop that is going to be conducted from 30th of July to 5th of August. You can check for all the details in the office. So, see you soon.